Hi, good afternoon. My name is Claudette Gibson, and today I would like to talk to you about HIPAA, or the Health Information and Portability Act, specifically the part that deals with electronic medical record storage, transmission, and sharing. As we know, HIPAA basically states that an individual has the right to know who sees their information, what information is shared, how this information is shared, and how this information is stored. There are basically two aspects to the security rule, namely administrative safeguard and technical safeguard. On the administrative side, hospitals must have policies in place that cover security management, security officials, risk analysis, and response to and identification of security breaches. The hospital must also have a sanctioned policy in information systems review and a contingency plan for data backup, system failure, or environmental disaster. The data backup plan must be able to retrieve an exact copy or replica of the individual's original PHI. Security training and procedures that authorize access to a PHA must be in place. For example, when an individual is hired by an entity or a hospital, the new employee must sign a confidentiality agreement and various forms that will allow them access to the EMR, the internet, and parts of the EMR of the entity. A lab technician will not see the same information as a nurse, for example. In this case, it's different strokes for different folks. In event of a security breach, a systems review will take place and sanctions levied according to the hospital policy. The sanctions may include suspension or termination and or retraining depending upon the breach. The hospital may also report the individual to the state board that governs the individual's practice. The review may also recommend additional security measures or safeguards to prevent future incidents of breach of the electronic medical record. In event of a large security breach by an outside individual, of course, everything is going to be magnified 10 times, and it may take longer to identify who was responsible, what information has been obtained, and how that information has been used. Nevertheless, let's look at the technical safeguards that's in place. And this should include unique username and passwords or even numbers when a person logs onto a computer system at a hospital or entity. The activity of the users are automatically recorded and can be used later in event of a system audit. There should be an automatic system log of anywhere from maybe 60 seconds onward when the system remains inactive. The encryption of data and corroboration that data was not altered, destroyed, or wrongfully transmitted. This basically entails a pop-up box that requires the username and password of the individual that wants to transmit the data. I've often seen this being used by our case management department when they submit information to the insurance companies for either authorization or post-hospital placement. The system also must also make provision for exclusion of individual identifiers. Now, there's a number of individual identifiers, including the name, geographical identifiers, that cannot be smaller than the state, the phone number, the individual's email, social security number, and medical record number. This can be achieved through two things, or two ways rather. First is de-identification, and the second is anonymization. In de-identification, when a person's data, for example, is submitted to the CDC or to another research body, the person receiving the data may not be able to access the original record of the patient or be able to identify the patient. In de-identification, the identifiers are removed, but the person receiving the information can still go back and identify the patient, the actual individual or the actual individual whose data was used. As with all laws, HIPAA has provided for sanctions against individual or entities that breaches its provisions. These sanctions may include, but is not limited to, criminal prosecution, suspension from participation in Medicare, and fines. Thank you for your time, and I hope that you have learned something new today.